So welcome everyone to the third Thursday Co-Creators Convergence call. Today is August 16th, 2018. I'm Noelle Marshall and I'm here with my beloved Bob Warner.
Hi everybody, glad to have you with us as we broadcast live from the Hut of Consciousness in Loveland, Colorado.
So Bob, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about Co-Creators Convergence before we get started, and then I'll say a little bit about Mary. Then we're going to give Mary the ball and let her run because she's got a lot she wants to cover.
Indeed, indeed. We're so happy to have everyone with us this evening on this beautiful, best day ever August evening. And for those of you that are new to the Co-Creators Convergence, we welcome you to be a part of this community on a regular basis. The Co-Creators Convergence is a heart resonance community, as in unity, that of uniquely gifted souls who are dedicated to embodying and amplifying our collective consciousness, thereby co-creating a world that works for everyone. We do this with great love, compassion, and joy, honoring all realms of creation to accelerate the awakening of humanity. As I said, you are welcome to join us and feel free to be a part of this call to co-create a field of consciousness for the highest expression of humanity. There are 4 ways to be involved in our community. One you are participating in right now. It's our third Thursday of the month Zoom video conference where we're blessed to have wonderful people that participate as a part of our community. Second and third are 24/7, our website and our Facebook page. Our website is www.cocreatorsconvergence.com, and there we have information about our coming events, our past events, photo galleries, video galleries, and very significantly, archives of all the third Thursday calls that have happened since 2014. An amazing collection of wisdom and love and connection with others as a part of this community. Our Facebook page is a very active Facebook page, and we welcome you to be a part of that and sign up right away if you're not already a part of it. And the 4th way to connect with us in this community is our annual Co-Creators Convergence Live here at Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado. We just completed our 6th annual. We're under contract for 2019 and 2020. We're excited to be here and excited to bring everyone into circle for us to spend 4 days together doing everything that this community is about in support, love, and connection. Next year's convergence will be June 12th through 16th, and we look forward to seeing all of you here. Thank you. Noelle?
Very good. Thank you, Bob. I'm going to just, I have a little brief here that I'm going to read about Mary. Before I do, I'm going to give a teeny little story here on how Mary and Bob and Noelle met up. And Bob and I were doing some volunteer work for Humanities team, Steve Farrell, and through that we met a gentleman named Kerry Beach. And we met him never face to face, but we just corresponded with him a lot. So Bob and I, as we travel, we've been 8.5 years living in our RV. And so we were traveling and we were in North Carolina and we were looking up, well, where should we go? To a UU, Center for Spiritual Living, Unity Church. So Bob went on all the websites and he looked to see what they were offering, you know? And so he said, well, this Unity Church has this woman named Mary Reed and she kind of sounds interesting. So why don't we go to that one? Because the other ones don't seem to have anything special going on. So I said, sure. So we went there and it came to the point they're like a very small Unity Church, probably only, I'm going to say 20 at the service. And we sat in the back because we're just, you know, hangers-oners. And so then they said, if there's any new people, would you stand up? So we stood up and introduced ourselves and then we sat down. And then Mary and Kerry Beach were in the very front row. So Kerry Beach stands up and turns around and says, I know you two. And so that's how we met Kerry Beach in the flesh, because he recognized us from all the ongoing correspondence. At that time, Mary was just, she says, coming out of her shell, but we heard her talk, and this is actually the second time we're having her on the Co-Creators Convergence. And so we've been following her path. many exciting things. We love Mary, everything she's about, and she's a kindred spirit on the road and bringing so much good to this planet. So we're real excited, but I am going to do the formal thing here and read about Mary. And okay, so see more. The topic tonight is the incredible path to wholeness. So Mary Reed is an accidental modern mystic who grew up devoutly agnostic. In 2011, she left her executive life in Washington, D.C. for a monastic life in the Himalayas. Yeah, after struggling for 11 years with the impact of veering uncontrollably into otherworldly realms, encountering God, Jesus, Buddha, angels, and unfathomable wisdom. These events finally turned her life inside out. And now, when not living in India, Mary travels the world detailing profound mystical insights and bringing sorely needed perspectives that shed new light on the significance of these amazing times. Mary is the author of Unwitting Mystic, a book you should read. Absolutely. And will be on a coast-to-coast tour through November. So listen up, coast-to-coast tour, looking for people and places to connect with. So as Mary does not find a home anywhere in the world, she finds herself blessed with a sense of rootedness in every community that invites her in. So with that invitation, I want to invite in Mary Reed, and we are going to mute ourselves and turn it over to you, Mary. We're so pleased, ecstatic that you are here, and really waiting on bated breath for the wisdom. Bring it, baby.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I really love this new format of being able to see everybody. As I said earlier, this is like coming to a dinner party together. This is really great. Bob and Noel, first of all, thank you for the invitation to be here with you again. We've spoken periodically over the years. I'm just thrilled that the coincidence brought us together, and in Carrie's memory, Carrie has since passed, and quite unexpectedly, so we were brought together with the gift of that blessed soul. So let's just do this in his memory, since this is the first time we're doing it since he passed. All right, so I have a ton of things to cover. I apologize in advance for the length, but what I have to tell is a really extraordinary story that's quite unique because of my experiences. So I bring all of this authentic uniqueness now to this group. I don't have any kind of religious background at all, so I've never read the Bible or the Vedas or been a lifelong studier or a teacher, that sort of stuff. So the way that I talk about things is my own way. I don't have the framework of spiritual language or that sort of stuff. So what I'm going to say is just going to be the truth of the way that I frame my ability to talk about what's happened. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to have to use some of my notes too, because this is quite long. But what I'm going on tour to talk about is essentially what I'm seeing as what I'm calling the holy shakeup with what's happening in humanity right now, as we're coming into this period of starting to create the life we really want. And obviously, I don't mean that in a materialistic way. I mean the life that humanity and we individually have been really yearning for, because this is exactly what I've seen that's going on. This is what the period that we're in now. And the way that I'm talking about it this year is using only the metaphysical experiences that I've had to talk about where I have experienced where we started, how we got to where we are, and now where we're going. So it's literally the whole path to wholeness now. And so we're just going to jump right in with this journey, and I'll start right with the origins of existence itself. And I'm going to try to come through this kind of quickly. So if I get going too fast, somebody can just tell me to slow down or recap or something so we can all be on board here. In the origins of existence that I experienced was going back into the primordial ground, the primordial state of being, the origins of the universe, of us, whatever. In this experience, I went back into the origins of the God source, that exquisite void of pure nothingness, which is only pure potential. Absolutely everything that exists in life begins first in this field of nothingness. So it's the potential for life before there's any living of life. In this field, there's like 5 key qualities that I was aware of that were unique to this primordial state of being. The first is it was literally an unconditional field. There were no conditions imposed upon it for it to be. The second is all the potential that's in this state is equal in its possibility to manifest. So there's no such thing as inequality. The third, all of this potential is free to ultimately express what it is. So there's no such thing as oppression. Fourthly, all of the potential that's in this state of being is in a unified state of oneness. It all exists together, impacting each other. And then all of this was in the perfect state, and I should say there's no such thing as separation then if it's all in a unified state. And then lastly, it's all in the ultimate state of acceptance of what is. So there's no such thing as resistance or rejection here. So this whole state is unconditional, equal, free, unified acceptance of what is. And I'm going to revisit these repeatedly throughout this talk. This whole state of being is aware. It is awareness itself. Fundamentally, it is awareness. And all of this awareness has volition. It has a will or an intention. And this whole state, the awareness with volition in this state of unconditional, equal, free, unified acceptance, is entirely cherishing. And we know this cherishing as love, divine love or whatever. So when people talk about this blissful, profound love that they encounter when they're in these divine realms, this is why. It's in a cherishing, fully cherishing state. So I'm back in this primordial state of being as a formless speck of just pure potential. Now, you might consider it like latent energy, but I am not latent energy that is aware. I am part of an awareness that expresses its will as energy. This is why we live in a dynamic, energy-driven world. So as I'm in this state of being, this field that I'm in, or the state that I'm in, moves. And as there's movement, I am engorged with the God source. This flow of divine love enters me and wakes me up to my first moment of conscious awareness. And in this first moment, I narrate that first moment of awareness consciously with the words, with the thought powerfully, I am goodness, and I want to be all that I am. And that single thought rocketed me into the evolution of my entire being. I literally felt myself rocketed. Now when I say goodness, I mean godness, because that's what flowed into me. And so in this experience, I was aware that everything that awakens to life awakens with this exact same impulse, whether it's a tree or an angel or a rock or a human, whatever aspect of oneness that I am awakens with the same impulse. And the reason is what creates the movement in the primordial state of being in the first place is God's own desire or love's own intention to experience its infinite potential. And we are the expressions of that potential, seeking to be all of our godness. This was the model of existence that I re-experienced. Now, when I say that I rocketed myself into my evolution of being, I mean that I felt the words themselves propelling me as the creative force. So when we hear, I am word, that was exactly my experience. I heard a definition as word is God in action, and that was precisely what I experienced. So I understand the line, in the beginning there was word, and the word was with God. That was my experience. Now, sometime later, I was trying to figure out how on earth did I do that? How did I propel myself into the evolution of my being with just that thought? We've heard that thoughts create reality, but how? And so I was really contemplating and meditating on this. And finally, one day, the answer comes. And you can imagine like a blackboard that comes. But instead of looking at the lesson on the board, I enter into the blackboard and become the lesson itself. This is how all of my experiences occur. What I enter into can easily be understood as like a multi-dimensional kind of kaleidoscope. So all the patterns are moving interdependently, they're interwoven, etc. Nothing can exist or turn outside of the kaleidoscope. What I've entered into is fundamentally the core of a vibration. We live in this dynamic energy world that constantly vibrates. I'm in the core of a vibration. What I'm looking at in this kaleidoscope, all of these units that are turning have two fundamental distinct components. In the center is a circle with these patterns that are rotating counterclockwise. You can imagine it like a pinwheel. So around this pinwheel, rotating in the opposite direction, you can imagine like a deck of cards that's been spread out like this, these little stacked square rows of cards or plates in several rows. The last card is a real-life image of me, smiling and waving like this. Now remember, I've asked, how did I propel myself into my being with just that thought? And here's what I'm seeing. In this kaleidoscope, each unit that's functioning, what's rotating at the center is the focus of my awareness. That has a unique pattern, an energy signature. In the same way that a sound or a quality of light has a unique quality, so does my focus of awareness. Rotating around that in the opposite direction is the pattern of my intention. And so that too has a unique pattern. All of this unit is bright and reflective. I describe it in my book like aluminum in sunlight. So it's all reflective rotations against each other. So you can think about what was my awareness in the beginning. The focus of my awareness was, I am goodness. My intention was, I want to be all that I am. And what I'm experiencing is the interaction between these patterns energizes into reflection a manifest reality that I can then perceive because I am aware. And as I perceive it, I have a reaction to it. And when I have a reaction to it, that becomes the next focus of my awareness and starts the cycle again. So in my experience, the whole movement of life, the cycle of creation is happening through the focus of our awareness and our intention, energizing into a reflective manifestation of reality that we perceive, have a reaction to, and then continue the cycle. So this is the way we explore our potential, exactly like that. So over the 18 years now that I've been having these experiences, I've seen many ways and many times through Buddha and Jesus and God and angels how we explore our potential in the various stages. In the primal stages, the early pure stages, we explore through contrast. And that contrast is very much in the way of, this is good, this is another kind of good. This is good, this is a different kind of good. It's all good because it's all God. And we are aware that we're it. We're part of all of this. We are the oneness of life. We are aware that life is happening with us and through us and as us. And we're in love with all of it. We're cherishing everything we're creating. We're in a constant state of fascination and wonder and awe. You can think of it like being in a park and it's nothing but puppies coming up. It's like, oh, look at you, another little life. Look at you, another little life. It's all beautiful and buoyant and joyful, and we're in love with it. I have also seen in these experiences over the years where one single part of our awareness splintered off. We go from simultaneously being aware of all of oneness of life or pockets of awareness or however we want to do it, and one single part splinters off when we start exploring through mental constructs. So it's not just about the puppy and the puppy, it's the aboutness of the experience that we're having. So we're starting to frame things in constructs just mentally. And one part splinters off when we happen onto the mental construct of fear. And now what happens is that instead of puppies, now we have a bunch of snarling pit bulls. And this is the first time we've ever encountered anything like this. And so what do we know that fear makes us do? Fear makes us contract powerfully inward with the intention to protect. So our focus of awareness comes inward powerfully into this singular location with an intention to protect, reacting to everything. So here goes our creative cycle on a foundation of fear. And as we start doing this, we begin to lose our awareness as the oneness of life, because now it doesn't feel like life is happening with us and through us and as us. Now it feels like life is happening to us in a threatening way. And so we start coming into this creative cycle of protection, and as we start losing our awareness, we begin assigning meaning and value to absolutely everything in life. We are assigning the words in a value system of good and bad, because we need the good things to come to us because they make us feel safe. And we need the bad things to go away because they threaten us. So we start assigning the words and creating in this value system of where good is being used to try to make the bad go away. So we're in a good trumps bad paradigm of life, creating in fear in a belief that we're separate from all of us. But in reality, we're still the oneness of life. Life is, yep.
Just a little tad slower for one of them.
Okay.
But
so,
I want to let everybody know this is being recorded, and I've already decided I'm listening again.
You're going to want more of that too.
Yes.
Okay. So is everybody up to speed? Are we okay for now? Okay. So we are still the oneness of life, regardless of whether we're unaware of it. Life is still happening with us and through us and as us. But this part of our awareness isn't aware of that because it's over here creating in an illusory reality that believes there is such a thing as inequality in experiences of life. There's such a thing of conditions that must be met. There's oppression, there's separation, and there's resistance and rejection of what's going on. So we went from the I am word experience being I am in love to I am in fear. So this is our creative force. The force of fear is that which we're creating with. Now, in 2016, I had my biggest metaphysical event of all, and it was related specifically to what keeps us in this loop of suffering. Why can't we get out of this loop of fear-based suffering? And this became the basis of my huge 2016 tour. And I based that whole tour on a single question. And the question was, if love is all we need, if love is all there is, then why hasn't love ever been enough to make our suffering go away? So the short answer to that is that in a separation consciousness, when we say love with regards to suffering for that which we want to heal, what we actually mean, the word that we intend, is rejection. And so I'll explain how this happened. And I'm going to walk you through it because this is a very important experience. This all came about when I encountered the fundamental block in humanity that we're all in. And this block consists of, I experienced it in myself and in the cosmos both. This block consists of only two things: our belief that we're separate from love and our constant crying out for union with love. In this experience, I began to unite with the block to become the lesson. And as I'm uniting with it, I'm starting to get really upset, anciently, defiantly upset. And the reason is I'm starting to become all of the things on that negative side of the good trumps bad equation. I'm becoming all of the labels of bad: fear, judgment, self-loathing, war, violence, poverty, rage, pride, jealousy. The whole long list I'm starting to become, and I'm holding all of it. And as I'm holding all of this, I begin to see and experience that it's all just pain. It's just different iterations of pain that we have assigned these words to and then associated with them as such. And as I'm holding all of this pain, I begin to feel and realize that it's all profoundly sad. It is an entire base of sorrow connecting all of humankind, and all of this sorrow is deeply longing. And as I'm holding all of this longing, sorrowful pain, I understand immediately why it is so sad. And that is because we have made it such that the nature of pain is to be rejected. So as I'm holding all of this eons of really sad, sorrowful and longing pain, everything that is love in me comes rushing forward to heal it. kindness, compassion, concern, empathy, everything comes rushing forward to heal it. And I can't touch it. I can feel myself physically being pulled forward with such desire to heal this. And I can't touch it. I can see in the cosmos, all of the love in the cosmos cradling this block, nothing penetrating the boundaries of this block. And I begin to get really upset. Why not? Why? Why isn't it's always surrounded by nothing but love? Why can't love heal the pain of separation from love? Isn't that what we're crying out for? And so as I'm passionately trying to figure this out, all of the atoms and molecules in the cosmos begin to fill in with light. All of this divine presence shows up, and it's magnificently serious. And it begins to show me that the dissolution of the block is basically a very simple absorption process. But it's, if you can imagine this block like a soap bubble, if you pierce the boundaries of the soap bubbles, the essence of the emptiness it contained, poof, it's just absorbed into the divine energies that are already there. So it's clearly just a strong illusion that has to be penetrated. So all of this divine presence is showing me giving me these instructions on how to lead up to the piercing process. And as they're doing it, there's this very clear sense of weightedness and determination and decision that this is it. And as I'm feeling this, all of this divine presence tells me this is the work of the universe. There's this work, and all other work falls away. This is what they tell me. So I sit on my little twin bed, room number 4 in my nunnery, the little nunnery I was in, and I start doing all of these things that they tell me to do, and pretty soon I'm starting to feel this huge current rolling through me. It just gets bigger and bigger, and pretty soon it's the size of the universe. And it starts bringing in all of this ancient information again. And it's, once again, all that we label negative on the bad side of the good trumps bad equation. But this time, I'm watching us create them. As I'm watching us create our realities, I'm watching us label and create every single one of these energies as we're building our reality. And I watch how we insert the loop of human suffering. And it begins by us using that which we label good in order to build up that which we label bad so that we can reject it again and again and again. It's the thing that makes the good feel in control, feel powerful and dominating of its own circumstances and its own life. So the good is building up the bad to reject it again and again and again. I watch us build our whole reality on this paradigm. I'll say more about that in a second. And as this is happening, everything fasts forward to current day. And I begin to see that these are the energies. This is the paradigm that paces the rhythms of all of our poetry. I watch it in this event, sweep the ballet dancers across the stage. I see it in the conflict arcs of all of our books and our movies and our stories, the protagonist and antagonist model. I see it threaded through religious doctrine so eloquently. I see it in the foundations of the building blocks of government and economics and education and all of our cultural and societal systems. And we all know this because we all love the story of good trumps bad. It's the classic hero's story. The good guy's here, the bad comes in as a threat, the conquering goes away, and we all feel better. This is what makes us feel proud, courageous, full of hope. Our fear feels safe. We love it when karma comes around to bite the bad guy. We love when romance makes loneliness go away. We love when intellect makes ignorance go away. We love when the moral good conquers the immoral evil. This is the Disney model of life. And we all love it. I've loved Disney forever. What I'm watching here is that what's happening in this loop of suffering is that we're in a chronic cycle of self-rejection because we're trying to make one part of us make another part of us go away. We're trying to make one part of us that we've labeled good, make another part of us that we've labeled bad disappear. The good in us, the good in the world, make the good and bad in us, the bad in the world disappear. And you'll notice that we can't. We can't do it. And the reason why is because when the bad that we're trying to reject are, in fact, all of those things on that bad side of the equation, every single one of them are our cries for union with love. And then when we say love to heal it away, meaning rejecting, we're just rejecting the cries for the very thing that we're crying out for. We're crying out for real love, but what we're getting is rejection. And so when we say, when I couldn't heal the pain, when I couldn't earlier, when I couldn't heal that pain, this is the reason why. My idea of healing this was actually rejection. And what we're doing is simply creating more pain in that moment, because the focus of our awareness and our intention is rejection. So in the rejection, we're just creating more pain. It's an endless loop. We create it, we reject it, create it. This is the loop. So as all of this is coming up in my awareness, what I'm realizing, of course, is that what we're crying out for, what we desperately believe we're separate from, is, of course, divine love. That state that gives us life, which is inherently unconditional and equal, free, unified, and acceptance. And when I realized this, I knew what my piercing process was. I knew in that moment, my job was to get my own being, my own state of being, my field in direct alignment with God, in direct alignment with my own true nature. And I literally said in that moment, whatever comes into or arises in my field in this moment is allowed to be here unconditionally. I will allow whatever arises in my field of awareness here as an equal and free and unified and accepted part of who I am in this moment. And the moment that I hit that mark, when I was in direct alignment with my own true nature, everything starts coming around again, all of that bad stuff. But this time they came one at a time. And the first thing up, no surprise, was fear. And when fear hit this divine field in me, there was this huge explosion of everything that fear was holding, hugely, all of the nuances. It was enormous. But this time, it was mine. It was all mine. It was everything in all of my life, all of my existence, and in all the places I have ever been interwoven or entangled in the collective consciousness of humanity forever. Every speck of fear. And then under it, all the pain. Every speck of pain I have ever put in my life, in my whole existence, and in the collective consciousness of humanity because of my relationship with fear in rejecting that pain. And every speck of pain I could see was like a living entity, sorrowfully looking back at me, knowing that I had put it there. It was such a stunning moment. The scale is absolutely unfathomable. And I just started sobbing. And I was like, oh my God, I am so sorry. I think I'm such a nice person, and what have I done? And I just sobbed, and and finally I just got down to the place where all I could say was, please forgive me. It was a request to myself, to the collective, and most of all, to all of that pain. And when I got down to that place of authentic forgiveness, what happened to all of that pain and all of that fear in my divine field was this. Poof. And then it was just absorbed into all of the divine energies that I was. And then, bam, right behind that, here's judgment. Same exact process in my life, in my existence, in the collective of humanity, and then the pain. And then the sobbing, the I'm so sorry, please forgive me. Poof. Bam, self-loathing. This just went on and on and on, day and night, for days on end, until I finally got to the end of that very, very, very long list of all that we label bad in our separation consciousness. And when I finally got to the place where at this time in my life, this level of healing is complete for me and for the collective, I walked out of my room at the nunnery, and everywhere I went in the world, I began to see in people's energy fields and in the words that they were speaking, in the life that they were living, all of the aspects of self-rejection that they were walking through life with. And in that moment, in that whole time, it was like a world full of white flags, just waving in surrender, saying, I'm ready for healing. And so for me, that whole experience was about seeing a world ready for healing and knowing what the answer to the cries were. And so we all know, just in our day-to-day lives, we know that we can't answer our cries for union with our own nature that's unconditional and equal and free unified acceptance while we maintain life on this treadmill by rejecting and creating the cycle of pain. And we know this because we can look at our whole history. We can look at all of our activities now in our present life and know in the response to all of the pain that we keep creating through the cycle of our creations, we keep passionately trying to use a false label of love to make it go away. And we can't. We can't compassionately legislate it away. We can't compassionately vote it away or resist it away or protest it away or hate it away or shoot it away. We can't make it go away with a false label of love. It's not possible. And so, fortunately, because in the mechanism of creation, reaction is an integral part to the creative process, our future creations depend entirely on our response to what has already been created. So as we are more and more willing to be the presence of divine love as divine love and witness everything from that state, what was created in fear can no longer remain. And that's what's happening in our world right now. This is the point that we're at. And we can see this happening more and more. We can see all of the things that are falling away that were built in fear. Look at it just in the last 100+ years. You can see all of the falling away of these expectations and rules and roles that were created in fear around gender, around race, around class and caste and religion and geography and education and age and all of these oppressive, separating, unequal categories of existence. They're all starting to fall away at rocket speed relative to what we've been for eons. And at the same time, in this same time frame, we can see the rising up of the more and more of the presence of divine love, the qualities of divine love being more evident in our awareness, more movements towards unconditional love, more movements towards equality, more movements towards freedom to be who we are, more movements towards unity, more movements towards acceptance of what is in this present moment. These are all the qualities of divine love. So there's this evidence everywhere of this transformation that's underway. And I can tell you exactly how it's happening because I've been watching it. And it has to do entirely with our individual willingness. This is all happening through the individual vessel. And I can show you very easily how it works. And Bob, I think we've done this before, but if not, well, we'll do it anyway. So I'm going to use an example using Bob, using conflict energies. And let's say that Bob and I have some kind of conflict between us. Bob did something bad to me. Obviously, it was all Bob's fault. So Bob did something bad to me, and now Bob and I have, him, that one. He has, we have between us now a thread of conflict. And so metaphysically, what conflict energies look like, it looks like knotted threads. It looks exactly like a knotted thread. And we are tangling it up, tying it up massively between us. And as we walk around in our energies of blame and victimhood and resentment and anger, we're just pushing and pulling against each other and just knotting it up like crazy. And I'm on my end of the world taking these little subsidiary threads and I'm wrapping it around everybody that I'm talking to about how awful Bob's been in this situation, how bad it was and how much I'm so hurt and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just wrapping it around everybody. And Bob's on his end of the world doing exactly the same thing, taking those subsidiary threads and he's wrapping it around everybody. And now we're all bound up in these conflict energies of these magnificent tangles between us. From a planetary perspective, this is what our history looks like. And we can all feel this. We know that we've been bound up in these magnificent tangled energies of conflict between us everywhere. And you can imagine that doesn't vibrate very high. That little kaleidoscope can't turn, in there. And so in this example, if I, in this situation, just me, if I go in and I do all of the work of looking internally and owning the truth of everything within me, everything that I have experienced in this situation, and I get to the place where I authentically own all of it truthfully, how I've behaved and how I felt, the pain I was trying to reject, and I get to that place where I can just allow all of it to be here unconditionally, that I can allow it as an equal and unified and free and accepted part of my life experience, that presence of divine love. And I get to that place of pure forgiveness in me. What happens in that moment is that all of those tangles in that thread just dissolve instantly. And so that thread just opens up and falls away completely from me, because now it's just flowing. Now it's just divine love flowing. And as it drops away from me, now Bob has nothing to push and pull against with me, because now it's flowing. And as it flows from me, it flows from Bob, and his end of the thread drops away as well. And it's dropping away from all of the people that I was around here, and now it's dropping away from all of the people that Bob went around. And now all of us are flowing in this field of divine love, all because I did my work. So from a planetary perspective, this is also now what's been happening, is that more and more of us have been willing to go in individually and do that individual work to get to that place of aligning with true love. And as we've done it, we're opening up these channels that are rippling out into the collective and allowing that presence of divine love to be here more and more and more. And it's no surprise, at the same time, we're also seeing the rise up in the presence of this pain that's from deep within humanity that is coming up to be part of that healing. And so I can lead us just a little bit deeper into the understanding of the importance of our awareness of oneness and our impact on all of this very simply using the philosophy of Ubuntu. Some of you may know Ubuntu. I used to work in Africa a lot, and in Southern Africa, they're very fond of this philosophy. There's many definitions, but I love the definition that says, I am who I am through you. We are who we are through each other. And I can help us viscerally understand that simply by asking here, where do you think you see me or experience me? So in a separation consciousness, we would believe that you see me separately from you here in this computer screen. And an audience, it would be on a stage or whatever. But in fact, the only place that you see me, the only place you experience me, is within you. That's it. There's nothing happening except within you. Within you, you're taking in these reflections of these patterns of light, and it's coming against the patterns already within you, your nervous system, and it's in all of it operating together, and you're coming out with this agreed upon data that says there's location and size and color and all of these sorts of things. But all of that is only happening within you. It's in the oneness experience of your awareness. It didn't happen outside of you. If you were to close your eyes and I stop talking, you have no awareness of me, because there's nothing bringing you into a oneness experience with me. You would only have a memory, but where's the memory? It's only within you. If you close your eyes again and I continue talking, then all that's happening is that you're hearing me. But where is that hearing taking place? Only within you. There is a oneness experience of your awareness with this sound coming into you. And so it's not happening outside of you at all. If I were to put my cold hands on your arms, the sensations that you feel is coming from within you. It's not coming from within me. You can't experience my cold hands here because there's nothing bringing you into that experience of oneness. You see? So if you bite into a carrot, the taste of the carrot is only within you. It's not inside the carrot. You can't taste a carrot that's in the ground because there's nothing bringing you into a oneness with your awareness in the experience. So the whole oneness of life is only happening within you. If I tell you that I saw a terrible car crash on the way here, you might immediately have some empathy for the car crash victims, but you didn't have any experience of empathy until you had an internal awareness of something that required an empathetic response. You see, it's only happening within you, because this is a oneness experience of life. So when we understand that, when we can really take that in, then we can think about everything that we're experiencing in life. We're only experiencing it within us. So when we look around at the world and we experience other people's hatred or rudeness or ineptitude, where are we experiencing that? Only within ourselves. That's it. This is an experience happening within us. So if we're one of these people that's constantly bringing in all of these bad things into our awareness, why? Why are we constantly bringing it into our field of oneness? Because it is seeking an answer that it hasn't gotten. We are bringing it in constantly, and it's still going on. So knowing this, where is the only place we can react to whatever we are experiencing? Only within us. No one can process anything else for us. So this is the only place from which we can react. So that means that this is the only place we can answer that cry for union and create anew. This is it. This is why the individual willingness to align ourselves with divine love is so critical to this process, because this is the only place that change can happen. What happens when we decide to answer that cry differently is that our focus of awareness and intention are different. And that truth becomes the creative mechanism. So that rotation of truth becomes the next creation. This is where that shift, that breaking of the cycle takes place. You see? So now I have to check my notes and see where I am. Okay, so everybody's still awake and alert. Everybody's life turned inside out now? Good. Okay, so just a few weeks ago, I had my most recent big metaphysical event, and it all related to what's happening right now of where we're going. We have been in the last couple of years in this huge fracturing of our reality, this PTSD state that we've all been in for a couple of years. You want to talk about the good trumps bad paradigm being very much in our awareness. Literally, a man named Trump won the election 3 days after I ended my tour, talking about the trouble with the good trumps bad paradigm. We've been in it in a very big way, and immediately all sides were claiming good and all sides saying the other is bad. So it's been in our awareness in a huge way. And so right now, we are coming into this time. I experienced this magnificently, of seeing that this is a time now in which we are finally integrating more and more into a unitive consciousness by experiencing the awareness of our oneness more and more and more through us, within us, and through each other. And in this experience, I saw immediately how humanity has been completely overwhelmed and has been in this huge consciousness of inadequacy, in feeling overwhelmed at all that's going on and all that must be done in order to achieve the state of oneness and divine love. We've been completely overwhelmed. And the way I experienced it was being like being a bucket sitting at the edge of the ocean, being completely overwhelmed at the prospect of all that has to be incorporated into my little bucket to be okay. But the simple truth is, all that we're integrating is more and more of our awareness that we are already the vastness of oneness. And in this experience, I saw very clearly how much of our spiritual language keeps us tethered to the separation consciousness identity. And I experienced it in many ways in this event, but one of them, very easy to understand, was this idea that we're ascending through dimensions. And I can show you how this keeps us in our separation consciousness paradigm. If we think about ascending from the third to the fourth to the fifth dimension, well, all right, the fifth dimension would inherently be able to experience the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. But the third can't experience the fifth because it's not there, which keeps us in a separation ideology, yes? So now think about the trillionth dimension. can experience all of the other dimensions, but this little old third dimension can in no way experience that trillionth dimension. That canyon is the scale of our subconscious sense of inadequacy, that we have to do so much to be worthy or to get into that canyon. But that canyon is, in fact, the true scale of what we are already. This is our capabilities and our state of being. So the bridging of the gap between this little third dimension and that big old trillionth dimension is awakening to the realization that we're already all of this, that we're not separate at all from all of this. So it's dropping the illusion that we're in this dimension. So in this experience, I saw that as we're coming into now this integrating into the unitive consciousness, we're no longer going to be told what's in that canyon and then have to figure out in a mental framework, in a way that we can understand what we have to do in order to get into that canyon. And so we're no longer going to be that which is asking for something to be given to us. In the old paradigm, separation paradigm, it would be that we ask something outside of ourselves, Jesus or Buddha or angelic light or doctrine or gurus, to give us wisdom that we then have to figure out how to work with in order to get into the canyon or be worthy of that or whatever. But those archetypal entities and stories were basically like teaching us to look at the canyon through particular lenses. So the Christ consciousness, the Buddha nature, the angelic light, they would give us these certain moral teachings or whatever that we then have to work with in order to experience the canyon through that lens. But we're coming into now this unitive state of being in which we are experiencing the vastness of oneness without the need for any lenses. So the wisdom that's inherent in the Christ consciousness and the Buddha nature and the angelic light is now coming through us. So it becomes Christ here through us, Buddha here through us, the angelic light here through us. So our surrender now is to something much more unitive within ourselves. So we are no longer, now it's not going to be that which is given something. We are that which is given. You feel the difference? We are no longer going to be that which is crying out for something. We are becoming that which we've been crying out for. So we are becoming the answer in the same way I did in my metaphysical event back in 2000. This is exactly what I experienced. So humanity's evolution is now at the stage where all that is, this God, love, this consciousness is now integrating into this present realm, into this present moment to experience its whole being right here through us. So we are this individual vessel holding all of it, each and every one of us. This is exactly what I experienced. Now, one of the very important things that I saw in this is that this centering process is very important right now, especially right now. And I'll explain why. We think about going in and centering as this is our individual portal. But previously we would think that we need to open up so we can access higher realms or higher beings. But actually what's happening is that this individual portal opens up for a two-way process so that all of our being can be here right now with us. We're not going anywhere. Everything is coming here into our awareness. So the individual portal is extremely important for opening up that access for everything to be here present within us. And so we can think about the importance of this centering and stillness like this. You imagine a very still body of water. This wisdom, pure wisdom that comes in, it can be experienced at the point where the wisdom drops into the water and in the purity of the ripples that go out to the collective. If we ourselves are choppy water, when the wisdom drops in, we can't experience the purity of that wisdom, nor can we allow it to ripple out purely to the collective. So this process of individually centering in this individual portal vessel is extremely important right now. And so I have an exercise that I take people through in in the live audiences, I would use a box. I have something called the box exercise, and you can watch the box exercise on my YouTube channel. There's something called the box exercise there, but we can't do that here. We don't have one. So we're just going to do this in kind of a different way. Can everybody hear me okay? Is everything good here? Okay, good. So we're going to do a little bit of a meditation. I want to ask everybody to get just comfortable and sitting here. And now normally what I would do is people have a box, a light colored box, and I ask them to write on the box. And I give them, so people write on the box their name, apostrophe S, and then the word mind. So my box would say Mary's mind. So we're doing a mind exercise with the box. And I ask people to write different phrases on the box, and as they do, I ask them to think about the scale of what we're talking about. So for example, and these are all the things that are held in the mind that we believe are part of our identity, what makes me, me. And so I start with things like my past. So you would write that, my past, on the box, and then you would just think of the scale that you hold in your mind of my past. Like all that's happened, that scale. And then think about my stories. All the stories that I tell about what happened in childhood, what happened at work, what people did to me, all of the stories, my stories, right? When we think about the scale of my intellect, some of us it's bigger than others. The scale of my beliefs. The scale of my future, my hopes and dreams and all of that stuff. The scale of my self-worth. And then all of our, what we might consider emotions. Fear, the scale of fear. Judgment. Resentment. Blame. Anger. Pride. Sense of lack. Limitations, all of these things. We have a huge scale in our mind that makes up our identity, the things that uniquely identify me. So I'd like everybody to just sort of hold on to all of that scale and feel all of that in and around your head. You can close your eyes and just honestly feel into the scale of all of these identifying labels of you in your mind. These mental constructs of you. They're all mental constructs. We can't hold on to any of these. They're just mental constructs of you. And so if you can sit very still, put both feet on the ground, close your eyes, and begin taking in everything in your environment, everything that you can hear or feel, the temperature around you, your rear end on the seat, the sound of my voice. Just soak it in like a sponge. Let it just start absorbing into all the cells in your body. The rise and fall of your body with your breath. And in a moment, we're going to take a nice deep breath. And when we do, I'm going to ask you to latch on to all that you can sense in and around your head. And imagine that you have that box that you would have had on your lap. And we're going to, as we take a deep breath in and latch on to all that we have in and around our head, we're going to breathe it all out and let it just fall into the box like grains of sand. Okay, so let's take a nice deep breath in. Feel into and around your head with all of that volume of you, and let it just breathe out like grains of sand into a box on your lap. We feel a lightness in our head now, everything just falling into the box. We know that our thoughts are magnetic, so any thoughts that are coming up through the mind are just magnetized down into this little box on our lap. Let's take a nice deep breath in again. See if you can feel into other things remaining in the head, in and around the head, and let it fall down into the box. Any thoughts just magnetized right along with it. As we do this, our head is starting to feel lighter, beginning to feel a more fullness around our heart and our stomach. We can breathe into that fullness. And we can take one more nice deep breath in. Anything remaining in the mind, in and around the head, just let it fall into the box. And now we have an extremely light head and a very full heart and stomach. We're resting and uniting with this fullness in our heart and our stomach. Our head is so light, we just go ahead and feel like we have no head at all. We are entirely centered in our heart and our stomach. And in this space, we can realize that we are still here, that this sense of I is still here. And we can realize that we actually can't identify where we begin. That we also can't realize where we end. We also can't identify where anything else begins or ends. We realize that we can't separate ourselves from this state. There's nowhere where this state of being is not. Any thoughts that are coming up are just magnetized easily down into the box. We are one through our breath with this vastness within our heart and our stomach. We realize that there's nothing that we can ever do to make this state go away. And there's nothing we can do to ever change this state. This is the isness state. We can see very clearly there are no conditions imposed upon this state of being for it to be. It simply is. Always. We can feel in this state a sense of fabric-like quality to it. There's an interwovenness to it, in which everything that is in this state is obviously equal. Everything in this state is simply free to be. Everything in this state is obviously unified. Everything in this state is obviously accepted as it is. We can see very clearly in this vast, unified state that any wisdom that rises up from within this state of being would have the best interest of all at its core. Nothing from within this state of being can affect a single being uniquely. We can also sense that anything that would rise up from this field would be pure, would be completely unobstructed. It would be very pure in its nature. We can also realize that this state of being is not a belief of any kind. It's not a construct. It is as it is. There is no such thing as good or bad at all in this state of being. As we feel comfortable, we can wiggle our toes and our fingers. We can take a nice deep breath in, and as we do, feel the top of your head. Take a nice deep breath in and feel into the sense of the top of your head. And then breathe out. And this time as we breathe in again, we're going to bring in everything from that box back into our being. Take a nice deep breath in. Everything, bringing our mind awake, letting our mind and all that was in our mind unite with that state of unified being that's already within us. As we feel comfortable, we can open our eyes. In bringing everything in our mind back into our sense of awareness, we can remember that our goal here is not to let go of everything that's in our mind. On the contrary, our goal is to bring our mind in partnership with everything in our heart, to be in service to divine love. So I have more that I can say on that meditation thing, but I think we're running on here. So let me just give a few closing remarks here. In my experience, this is an extraordinarily exciting time in our human evolution. Our cries for the first time in humanity's history, all of our cries for union with love can be heard all around the planet at the same time. And every choice is available for how we respond to these cries. And all we have to do is ask ourselves, what is my word in this moment? How am I showing up to this moment? What's the truth of where my awareness and my intention are focused? Am I showing up to this from the conceptual space of my mind, feeling inadequate and in fear and in judgment? Or am I showing up in a state of divine love? Am I showing up in an alignment? And if I can't show up in an alignment, can my word at least be willing? Am I willing to be the presence of divine love in this moment? As we find our sense of willingness and we meet everything and everyone with the presence of divine love, I am word. I see you, I know you're exploring love in the same way I am. I don't know what you're here to explore. I don't know what you're here to contribute or to teach or to learn, but I know that you're love because I am. And I'm right here in your oneness awareness with you. So I have just 3 pieces of homework to leave everybody with. The first is be still within yourself. It's very important right now. And in that stillness, do the inquiry of willingness. Am I really willing to be this presence of divine love? You're going to find a lot of times where you need to say no, and that will help you in your exploration. And third is, importantly, this is a very important time to gather, and I say this especially to any groups who lead people, anybody who's in a leadership position. This is a really important time to gather together in a new common intention to explore in union, to find our words with God, to joyfully discover new ways to respond to what's going on, and then create anew in oneness with and as and through each other. Ubuntu. So that's it. And I want to tell you that all of divinity is holding the door wide open for all of us right now. So let us rush through. That's it. That was really long, I told you.
I want to, if anyone would like to make a comment, maybe put it in the chat or wave at me or something, let me know. I can unmute everyone for just a moment. So if somebody wants to say something, and we have a chat coming in. Darlana says, thank you. Beautiful.
Hi, Darlana. Thank you.
Linda, did you want to chime in here? And okay.
Power packed.
Linda is saying, wow, that was power-packed. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And Nahid, go ahead.
In the oneness of the universe, I've been calling for this. I've been pushed to the wall, feeling I am at the age of the breakthrough to go through the wall, and screaming for that. And I am just amazed how our intention responds. I had to meet me here. Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Linda, go ahead.
I have to say, looking at Mary on the screen as you were talking, the light kept getting brighter and brighter. And rays of light were coming through. It's so perfect.
That's funny.
And from our junior CCC member, Aubrey, so beautiful and eye-opening. Thank you. Also from Sarah, sends her thank you. Shelley wanted to know whether there'll be access to the recording. Of course, there will be on our Facebook. If you're not part of that, that's okay. Co-creatorsconvergence.com. It'll be posted there. Give us about 48 hours, maybe a little bit more. And also, I will be sending this recording to Mary, so she could disseminate it as she, to your group as well.
Good, thank you.
And Sarah says, beautiful sharing. And anyone else? There's Darren. Hello,
Hi,
Darren.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. And Nina has joined us. Wonderful.
Mary, as you were, particularly early on, as you were talking, it was almost mystical. I was so consumed by what you're sharing. And in other times I would see that people passing by, since you're in the airport, behind you would be a distraction. And it just was like what you were sharing with us is so significant and so mystical that when people went by, it was like this metaphor for the journey that we're on. There are people going by with their luggage, and there are people going by quickly, and there are people going by in small groups or with their family or their kids in strollers. And there was just something really magical about the journey.
I'm glad.
And
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, Really,
I could, every once in a while, I was a little bit distracted occasionally because I could hear an announcement or I could hear people on their phone or whatever. So this was an awkward sort of thing occasionally, but I'm glad that it had some kind of story with it, with that. I agree. It's kind of an interesting metaphor.
yeah.
Wendy Foxworth sends her thanks. And I'm going to say, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
About this ascension thing. Ascension, you know, because some people say, well, I'm ascending, you know, I'm 5D and they're 3D. And you're saying that this ascension thing kind of, it causes separation.
I mean, listen to the language, right? You're over here, I'm over there. So
Yeah.
I'm better, I'm more advanced or whatever. It's just a way that we separate. We simply are where we are. I mean, it's all just different awareness. It's just a different lens of awareness. We're all in the same place. We're just in a different lens of awareness. So this, I mean, in my experience, it went on for quite some time. And there were all of these things coming into my awareness. Even as I was trying to narrate it, I caught myself like speaking in those terms. And so a lot of this is just about shifting our language now, because all of this language supported our separation consciousness. That's why we put it this way. And so it's perfectly fine. It was part of our exploration, but now we're going to explore differently. Our exploration will come into a unitive language. And even, you know, you can think about just the transgendered community, for example, struggling with, or the youth that don't like to have any pronouns used. Well, we don't really have other pronouns yet. We don't have, you see, so there's ways that we just we'll discover new ways to sort of identify life in a more unitive kind of language. And we're developing that right now.
Well, could you say that we're all in the process of ascension?
Absolutely. But you say, ascension itself implies that we're lower than where we need to be. Mm-hmm. And so this is exactly like what I was experiencing when I remember in this experience talking about when it was like the fifth ascension, realizing, ascension means that we're too low, like we're not where we want to be. So in our minds, in the mental construct, it's an unequal thing. And so we're just dissolving all of that. And this is, I mean, it's going to be a process, right? Because this is how we've done it. But we've done it because we had to understand things in a separation consciousness way. So it's nurtured us to this point, and now we're graduating. So.
Well, I'm very upset because now you've just taken a lot of people's jobs. They're all about ascension.
No, we'll just
or about separation. That's a lot of jobs too on this planet.
That's really I really appreciate that perspective. But let me also let some others chime in here.
Well, let me also just say, you know, this is only my own experience. You know, I can only share the truth of what I've experienced, and my experiences all relate to origins, as you can see, the origins of all of these things. And I've only just skimmed the surface of the origin things that I've experienced. So this is the origin of now this shift to the unitive way. Right? So this is a new transition point for us. And when I had my big event in 2016, there was a question about the divine presence saying there was a question of whether we're ready. And so then the last couple of years, as I've been watching all of this fracturing, that question has sort of risen again, you know, well, is this what's happening? And there was a confirmation in this last event just a few weeks ago that, oh yeah, we're very ready. And so now this readiness is towards this new thing that we're going to have to try to figure out. How do we do it? We don't know how to do it yet. We're doing it.
A few more messages here from Sheila. Thank you. That was so rich. Can the experiences you related be found in your book? And tell us about your book, your books, your website, how we contact you. And
Yep. My website is unwittingmystic.com. Unwitting Mystic is the name of my book. And my book is very much about my journey. and how I went from being this successful executive in DC to a monastic in India. And there's a whole process of my whole life falling apart because it was massively confusing for me. And it culminated in a serious suicide attempt in March of 2011. And when I woke up from that suicide attempt was finally, I just surrendered. I just stopped trying to be normal. I stopped trying to figure anything out. And then immediately the doors started opening, and I was very quickly invited to India to meet with a high Tibetan Lama and talk about my experiences, and then ended up living in the nunnery there. And so that story, which is really a riveting story, is the basis of my book. And a lot of my experiences are in the book. And I alternate between sort of my personal narrative with the metaphysical events, so people can see how it feels to walk through all of this life with these huge experiences trying to be normal. And so the only things that aren't in that book that I spoke about tonight are the big event in 2006 and then the one from just a few weeks ago. But the rest is definitely in there. This is when I first came out with my book, I've only been talking publicly since I released my book just a few years ago. But in the first couple of, and I only did that during the summers, the first couple of summers, it was just me telling about my journey. It wasn't talking about the wisdom that I glean. And so only now, in the last couple of years, have I actually been talking about the wisdom that I glean and how it applies to the world. So
thank you for that. The book is a page turner, so when you pick it up, you'll put it down when you're finished.
Oh, and I want to mention too, just a fun fact. It's also being turned into a movie. So the screenplay is finished. We did the screenplay pipeline last year and did pretty well. So we had some revisions over the winter. It's back in the pipeline again. So it's a real deal feature film project, which is really very exciting and very cool. I'm learning everything about the movie industry, for better or worse. So that's been actually really a lot of fun. It's a very heartfelt guy that's a producer working with me. So it's really nice.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
We have some more messages here. Aubrey said she had to leave, but she wants everyone to know that she loves us all so much. She's just so sweet. And also from Darlana, aware, all is well as is. And now that Linda Rosenthal. Are you the star of the movie, Mary?
Nope.
Or who plays you?
We don't know yet. There's oh yeah. Okay, well, we can take auditions.
What do you think?
It's a big budget film, so I don't know, but we'll see. The director is the producer is a guy that's been in Hollywood for a long time, so he has a lot of ideas and suggestions, but anything's possible. I don't know. He has people that he wants. I have people that I want. We'll see.
So who is the director? Are we allowed to know that?
We don't know the director yet. The producer is Matthew Hart, but we don't know the director yet. We want a woman director, and right now, this is really the key time to get women involved because it's a women-led cast, and so we want a women director.
Fabulous.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Tell us a little bit about your current tour. And are there spaces on it where some people on this call or people on this call that know somebody along that intended route might be able to put some other dots on the map?
That would be awesome. I would really love that. So I'm right now on the West Coast, and I should say that I'm at the airport because I'm getting ready to fly down to Dallas to visit my 99-year-old friend. It's her birthday, so this is why I'm here. It was a last-minute invitation to come to her party. But when I come back, I'm going back to Seattle, and I have some events in the Pacific Northwest, and then I'm driving with a friend across all the way to the East Coast. I have right now an event in Madison, Wisconsin, and possibly in Ohio coming up, and then into Pennsylvania and New Hampshire, and then back down to New Jersey and the Washington, D.C. area, and then back over to Indiana and Kentucky, and then back over to California. So between now and November, there's a route. And I don't know if she's still on here. Suzanne Taylor that was on here earlier. I'm actually
trying to jump off.
Yep. So she's hosting me in Los Angeles in November. So yes, definitely there's some spaces available. I'm up in Seattle and Vancouver in the next couple of weeks. And then throughout the middle of the country in particular, I would love to fill in some time and spaces there between the first week in September and the first week in October, that little stretch. Because there was a couple of things that I was going to be doing and that now I can't do till next year. So that stretch would be great. And then coming back across again in the early weeks, the early time of November in the middle part as well. So that would be terrific. I would love to see more communities.
Well, knowing geography of the country somewhat as we do, that message was for you, Linda and Nina.
And if you're in the if you're in any of the areas where I'm already booked, please do come to see me in person. I would love to meet people in person.
Yeah, I think you should put out your wish list of what locations you want and kind of what date, and then that'd be easier for people to.
You mean like to send it to you or to Facebook?
Put it on the Facebook.
Okay, I've done that. I did that when I first started putting things together, but now I have a little bit more.
Yeah, update it because
to it. Yeah.
Real general.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm glad to hear it's coming together. Well,
yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. Yes. Well, this has been, a drink from a fire hose or two. And, very, very lovely. And, I did get lightheaded, and I felt like.
Good.
You told us to put all that stuff back, and I said, oh, really? I'm expecting that part.
But you see, that's an important comment you just made, because that is an aspect of I don't want that stuff. Right. It's an aspect of rejection. And so we're into this time now where our fear, our jealousy, our blame, our insecurity, all of that is seeking a home of acceptance and recognition of all that it's given us and that it's taught us and all that it's holding, compassionately recognizing all that it's holding in particular. So this is a wonderful time to embrace all of it. And there's, I don't remember who said there's a difference between embracing and indulging. So we can embrace everything without indulging all of it.
Yeah. Indeed.
Oh, wonderful.
Indeed.
Thank you so much, Mary.
It's my pleasure. I wish we had more time for Q&A. It's my favorite part, but I had a lot to get out of my system.
You did. Well, I want to just open it up. Let me see. I'm going to go to participants, and if there's anyone else who would just like to chime in or just voice, unmute all. Yes. Okay. Did I unmute all? There we go. So if anyone would like to say anything, David?
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Hello.
Experience.
Thank you.
It was so much in alignment with where I am right now. And yeah, we had a call this morning. It was totally in alignment with this. Then Ubuntu came up and the word. It was so much in alignment with this call.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. So thank you so much.
It's my honor, truly. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Yes, thank you. Ditto. And Nina, you were also on that call, so you know.
Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you, Mary. I unfortunately wasn't able to arrive on the call until late, so I'm going to listen to the replay. But at least I got to see you live and hear some of you, hear some of your comments. So thank you so much. It was beautiful, the parts that I listened to.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
And okay, what was the call this morning?
What have you guys been doing?
It's our community call.
The community call. It's Thursday.
Yeah, our Thursday morning community call.
I'm giving you an opportunity to advertise.
Oh, okay. Well, anyone that would like to participate, this is the Milagro World Center, and weekly on Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Central, there's a gathering of co-creative visionary leaders, and it's a really beautiful call. It's rich, it's deep, and what makes it a great call is that it's highly interactive. So everyone has a voice on this call, and the deep, rich wisdom that comes through. It's such a beautiful tapestry. And today, each one of us did select a word, and I think that's what David is referring to. But there's, the deep essence and higher self of each person comes clearly through. So we invite everyone to join us, at least, register and try one or two of the calls and see if it feels aligned for you. But it's a really beautiful gathering. So thank you, Noelle, for allowing me to share that with everyone.
Yes, well, it was supposed to be a 30-second spot.
You should know me better than that.
Okay, well,
wonderful.
Speaking of spots here, we are at the Dimensions of Disclosure at Sunrise Ranch right now, where a whole bunch of people are going to converge. And I want to make you aware that on 8/18/18, it's up to us. Don't know if you can see this. Read it, Bob. I can't hold it and
On
read
Saturday.
it. Okay.
Yeah, okay. On Saturday, this is 8/18/18. It is up to us. Full disclosure project of truth, technology, and equality. There will be a mass meditation at 11:11 a.m. and 11:11 p.m. And where can they find out more information about that?
Well, you go to the CCC Facebook page.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Where Mary's this call will be posted.
Yep, probably in the next 12 hours or so. We'll have it on Facebook, and usually Janet Gunn puts it on the website within a couple of 3 days.
So with that, thank you so much, Mary. Give our love to your friend Mosey in Dallas, and what a blessing. She's going to be so ecstatic that you're there, and what a great gesture of friendship. You are good.
Thank you. And thank you, all of you, for this opportunity to be here. I'm just thrilled. I really appreciate this opportunity so much. I'm nourished by this.
Thank you. So thank you, everyone, for coming. And I'm actually looking for a host or someone to take charge of our September, what am I trying to say here? September 20th, we will be in Damanhur, Italy. And so I need someone to take over the third Thursday call, a guest or host it or
both.